Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video. So today I am playing in this Dina Wakley Blue Media Edition journal, and I'm actually playing on a denim page. So there is a little bit of gesso on this page already. I think it was probably where I'd got a bit excited and put too much out. So I was just finishing using a bit up, and then I've gone in with a gloss spray straight onto the denim, and you can see that actually it just looks like dark splodges. So the denim where the gesso isn't, where there isn't any gesso even, is quite thirsty, and it just kind of drinks up the gloss sprays. It definitely takes much better where there is a little bit of gesso. So I'm using fur and lime as well. And then with what's on the stencil, I've just popped a piece of printer paper on there, and I'm just kind of taking a print off the stencil. This stencil is fabulous for taking prints off, and if you haven't just spent a bit of time playing with spraying stencils with gloss spray and taking prints off them, then I really recommend having a try. Sorry, I don't know, I can't speak today, what's wrong? Because you do get some amazing results. So then I've gone in with sage as well, I think it is, and doing the same thing there, just mopping up the excess and putting a piece of paper on top to collect the rest of it too. So these make great papers for using in other projects too. So then I decided, because the colours were kind of disappearing into the denim, so obviously they'd left a little bit of colour there, and it isn't really showing up brilliantly on the camera, but there was some colour there. I decided I would go in with some acrylic paint, so I've picked the lime colour because it's a little bit brighter, and I'm just using a makeup sponge and popping that through the stencil onto the page. Then going back in with a gloss spray again. This one I think is Orchid. It's such a pretty colour, and just doing some splodges of colour on the page. Really, I didn't have a plan at this stage, I was just playing. So then I'm using this leaf stamp, which is from a stamp set called Be Willing. So you notice I'm stamping it onto the back of the mop-up paper that we took a print from the stencil with, and I'm cutting out these shapes. So the reason I'm doing it this way is that I want the pattern side to be in the shape of the branch. It's going to be a branch for some little birds to sit on. I thought it was a good way to use the mop-up page. So just stamping that onto the background, then I can cut that out and I've got the shape ready for sticking onto the page. It also means that the colours on the branches are going to work with the colours that are on the background too. So it's all kind of got a bit of a cohesion and hangs together better. So, you know, I don't really like cutting out. I find these bits really a bit of a pain, but just crack on, don't you? So cutting those out and then getting them ready to position. So they're still a little bit damp. You can see that they're curling a little bit, but they'll be fine once they're dry and they're stuck in place. So then I decided I wanted to add some collage paper onto the background on top of those colours that I'd already put there. So I'm just using some gel matte medium, and sticking some of this collage paper, this is one from Dina Wakley, onto the background. Again, the denim is quite a thirsty background to be using, and I think lots of people are a little bit scared of using the denim pages or the burlap pages in these journals, and I very definitely have to be in the mood to play on these substrates. It's not something that I would choose to do, but you just have to try and treat them like an ordinary page in as many ways as you can, and just kind of go for it really, and not overthink it, and just do the page that you want to do. And adding a layer of gesso can also help if you're finding that they're too thirsty with the different medias that you're putting on there. So you see I'm just using an ordinary glue stick to stick these in place. I think my fingers were a little bit sticky, so they kept pulling the pieces back up off the page, but it works fine. And once it's dry, and obviously as the page dries, things do kind of stick down. The gloss sprays are quite sticky also, so there we go. As it dries, it becomes less of an issue. Right, so those are stuck in place. You notice I've those in an odd number. Odd numbers, as you know, work really well on a journal page. So it's going to be 3 birds on here. So then I'm stamping these birds onto, again, just onto printer paper. But obviously you could use watercolour paper or mixed media paper or anything, because I am going to add some watercolour paint onto these birds in a little bit. So at the minute, the background doesn't look like there's a lot of colour on there, but when you see the pictures at the end of the video, you'll see that there is more colour there than is shown up at this moment. So I'm just using my watercolour paints and just adding, and a water brush, I'm just adding a little bit of colour onto these birds. Obviously I'm being careful not to overwork, because this is just printer paper, it's not watercolour paper, so if you faff about too much, then you will end up just poking holes in the paper, and it's not kind of the look I'm going for. So just once it's wet, then I'm just adding more colour on, just to darken up certain areas of the birds, like to create a bit of depth and shadow. So then I've cut those out, and I'm pretty sure I have stuck them in place already. Or maybe not, maybe I've just popped them. No, they're not stuck in place. I just used a yellow Posca pen. I thought one of them looked a bit like it was drunk on one of the branches then, so I was thinking surely can't have stuck it down that wonky. I used a yellow Posca pen just to pop a bit of colour onto their beaks, and now I'm going in with a Stabilo awl, and I'm just going over some of the lines on the birds and just adding a bit more shadow onto the bottom parts of their bodies, just to give a little bit of depth and contrast on the shapes of the birds. And again, just using the water brush to just sort of pull that colour out from the Stabilo pencil onto the bird's body. If the Stabilo All pencil is not something you've tried, I can recommend getting one, because they are lots of fun to use. You can create some really kind of artsy looks with them. They're great fun to have a play with. It can be a little bit unpredictable, but I think that's one of their charms, really. So you notice I am using double-sided tape and glue stick, so that's just to try and help these things to stick down really well. I've done that on all the little birds. You could also use Dina Wakley's ultra thick gel medium. That would stick really well too. Then I'm just using an ordinary black gel pen. It's not a waterproof one. I knew that wasn't going to be any more wet media going on this page, so it didn't really matter that wasn't a waterproof. Then I'm using this really chunky Posca pen and just adding some dots onto the page too. And then I got my typewriter out and typed out a few words to go on the page, again onto printer paper, and I'm just sticking those in place using the glue stick again. And that pretty much is it for this page. So yeah, just using that little bird stamp set, it's really cute. It's so cool. Oh, and it's called Nested Birds. It's one of Dina's most recent releases. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you again soon.